right. We can go ahead and get started while these last people trickle in. Welcome everyone to our Willy Wonka Service Collection event. We are so glad you were able to carve out a couple hours and spend them with us to talk about all things new service collection. I did want to go through a couple logistics before I pass it off to our expert, Rachel, and she will take you through Willy Wonka's factory. So first off, when you joined, you probably saw that this session is being recorded. You will get a link to the recording afterwards. So if you do need to run, use the restroom, you got to hop to a meeting, whatever you need to do, if you can't stay for the full session, don't worry, you will receive that link to view the rest of it at a later time. Throughout today's session, if you have questions, we do have the Q&A feature in Zoom turned on. So feel free to utilize that. It should be in the toolbar at the bottom of your page. Put any of those questions in there and we will save some time at the end for Rachel to answer any of those questions. As always, with any of our sessions, if you think of something afterwards, please feel free to reach out to me and I can get you in contact with Rachel, or feel free to reach out directly to her and we would love to continue having those conversations. So don't fret if you are watching the recording later and you come up with some other questions. We are always happy to help you out with those. With that, I will be here throughout today's session in the background, helping Rachel to monitor the Q&A in case you have any issues or any non-technical questions. I will leave those specialty ones to Rachel as she knows way more about all of this than I do. But I will be here in case you have any issues and will help monitor that. We will be taking one 5-ish minute break around the top of the hour when we wrap up a good topic. That way you guys can use the restroom, grab a coffee, let the dog out, whatever you need to do, and then we will hop back in and finish the rest of the stuff. So now that we've got the session logistics out of the way, I did want to touch on the special chocolates you all should have received. So those did get sent out last week. I know some people have gotten those already. If not, they are in the mail. I reached out to a couple of you yesterday to get an updated mailing address, so those will be over to you as soon as we can. With that, I have a fun little poll I just wanted to launch before we actually get into today's content. So there's 2 questions in there just to have a little fun. So the first one is, what is the name of our Willy Wonka Valiantys themed chocolate? We've got 4 different options: the Everlasting Incident Stopper, the Service Solution Square, the Incident Indulgence, and the Tangram Golden Ticket Truffle. So pick your favorite name. We'll see which one wins. And then the second question is which flavor you are looking forward to trying most. So in your box, you will have the yellow lemon, the 68% dark chocolate, which has got that Valiantys Tangram on there. The orange one is the seasonal pumpkin. We've got the blue one, which is the fig goat cheese. And then if you are like me, I already ate my chocolates and they were all, I'm going to say it, scrumdiddlyumptious. So I will not judge if you select that one because I am with you. But go ahead and answer those questions while I finish going through the logistics for today. So with the the Willy Wonka theme that we have today, some of you may have received a lucky golden ticket inside of your box. Now there's 4 winners that received that golden ticket. So if you are one of those special winners, follow those instructions on that ticket and send me a photo of the ticket that you received to my email address. It is on the card, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the chat as well so you don't lose it. But like I said, we've got 4 winners that received a lucky golden ticket just to go with our Willy Wonka theme. And you'll receive a nice Valiantys branded Cotopaxi backpack, which I have mine. Can't really see it. There we go. I've got mine right here. So you'll get one of these. It's got a nice laptop sleeve in there. You've got lots of pockets. It's super great for work travel. We've got people that take it on their mountain trips and anything like that. So you will be one of the lucky winners for that. So please feel free to send that photo to my email address and we'll be sure to get that sent over to you. So now that we've gone through that, I did want to end the poll. So let's see. We have got the winner of the Valiantys themed chocolate name by a close race is the Tangram Golden Ticket Truffle, with 9 people selected that one. And then right after that, we had 8 people select the Service Solution Square, which I think that's a pretty good name too. And then lastly, favorite flavor. Everyone is looking forward to the Tangram dark chocolate. That's awesome. We did have two people who joined me in eating their chocolates already. So no judgment, I promise. They were really good. So with that, now that we've had a little fun, I do want to make sure we save some time to let Rachel get into all things service collection. So I'm going to pass it off to her and let her introduce herself, and then we'll get things started.
Thanks, Brianna. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rachel O'Neill, and I am a pre-sales solution engineer as well as the ITSM lead for pre-sales at Valiantys. So what does that mean? What that means is I drive value towards requirements and vice versa. My job is to be the technical analyst and lead during all of your engagement needs and scoping questions. I typically run all the technical conversations, give live demonstrations, and any Atlassian tool that you'd like to see. And then I'll also collect all of your requirements for an engagement and prepare your statement of work. I also work with several others on our SE team, and they're all fabulous. And we all tackle certain silos. I typically work on the ITSM and JSM deals, but also cloud migrations. And we kind of all switch off depending on our clients. So whenever there's a need for implementation or professional services, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We'll be happy to set up a chat for you. So a couple of things that we're going to cover today. Let me just grab my script. Okay. So we're going to cover several things, and a couple of them are going to be brand new, things that I've never covered before, and I don't think anyone at Valiantys has covered yet either. So this is what we're going to go. This is the agenda that we're going to follow. We're going to talk about service collection and some of the new features and implications for the collection bundling of services, customer service management, the new app within JSM and Atlassian in general, the Atlassian Intelligence Suite, from help centers to virtual agents to Rovo, as well as all the other little AI pieces within JSM too, because it's not just all about Rovo. There's plenty of other things to talk about there too, as well as asset management, including lifecycle management automation rules. Data manager, we're going to take a peek at that as well. And then we'll end on incident management combined with operations. That's going to be our agenda for the day. We've got a lot to cover, and we're going to start in just a second. But before we start looking at the tools, let's just take a quick step back. Service management has been around for as long as humans have existed, from before we could even put pen to paper or pen to papyrus or even a chisel in a stone. There has always been a reason to speak to people about something that you were unhappy about or you wanted more of, whether it's a loaf of bread, or whether it's now a fully rolled out JSM implementation. And the tools that we've had to tackle service management in the last, let's say, 50,000 years. 50,000 years ago is right around the time when we're starting to chisel that rock. And now we have these incredible tools online in the internet. So there's a lot to take in there, from the span of reporting management issues, service management issues, to being able to actually ingest them and then resolve them is quite a story. So I've been in IT for about 25 years, a little bit more than that, and I've seen at least 30 applications come and go, not just related to service management, but in general in terms of project management and all those related features. And one of the reasons why I work for Valiantys and work with Atlassian tools is because I believe in the Atlassian stack so much. Going back even 20 years ago, when they really just started with one main tool, now they're bundling all of their tools into collections. And that's really one of the reasons why they've come out with the collection piece for service and strategy and teams as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll get started. We should be good to go. Okay. Okay, so first topic, let's talk about service collection and what it means. So what is the service collection? Atlassian has announced that the service collection is now this bundle or collection of service management capabilities. So both internal IT and employee service, external customer support, which we're going to take a look at with the CSM piece, asset and CI management, and then also AI triggered workflows. It moves Atlassian service management offering beyond just ITSM into what we consider to be a unified platform for both employee and internal support, as well as customer and external support. While we've certainly been able to utilize JSM for external support in the past, now we have something that's truly dedicated to that external group of clients and customers that we have. I think if you've utilized JSM in the past, you know that there is kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other in terms of how do we set this up? Do we use multiple projects, or now it's being renamed to spaces, workspaces? Do we use one workspace for internal, one for external? And then how do we deal with the maze of permissions and grouping and customer access, organizations, all of the external customer information and all of that? So this gives us now a truly separated path for both pieces of service management, which is really exciting and is a long time coming. So it's pretty great, and I'm excited to show it to you. A key motivation for this also is reduced tool sprawl, breaking down silos between teams such as IT, DevOps, business, customer support, and the ability to embed AI more deeply rather than as let's say, a bolt-on. In terms of from your perspective, from the client perspective, it also means one license and one platform to consider instead of multiple disparate tools for ITSM and CSM and asset tracking and AI. So this will hopefully simplify your selection in terms of the platform that you want to use and hopefully reduce that overlap as well. So what's included in the service collection? So Jira Service Management, the existing IT Service Management core, including incidents, problems, changes, service requests, and internal operations, that's still a part of JSM. Also now Customer Service Management. This is this new Atlassian app that's focused on external customer support solely, omni-channel, built for the frontline support and feedback loop with product, dev, and ops. Also Assets, the flexible database / CMDB / asset tracking layer for things like hardware, software, services, other objects in your organization is also included. And we also have Rovo. So the AI agent and AI experience layer includes virtual agents, automation and triage of other queues and other areas of JSM, knowledge assistant, and intelligent workflows. And then there's licensing additions as well that still remain the same, but there are different pieces in each. So we still have free, standard, premium, and enterprise. We're going to be taking a look at an enterprise demo environment, and you have to have premium or enterprise still if you want to take advantage of the asset management or CMDB. So what's new and what's changed? So there are a couple of major new features and changes to watch out for. For the external customer support capabilities, with CSM being included, your organization can now use the platform for external customer support, not just internal. Features will include branded self-service portals, AI-powered conversational agents, and omni-channel intake, as I had mentioned before. So we're talking about chat in either Teams or Slack, on the web itself in the portal, or email. And also stronger links between support tickets and product, dev, and ops teams as well. For existing JSM customers, you don't have to buy a separate CSM tool anymore. Existing JSM subscriptions, when moved into the strategy collection, will have CSM included at no extra cost per agent, which is pretty cool. I'm sorry, not strategy collection, service collection. Strategy collection is another webinar soon to come. And then AI and automation enhancements via Rovo. This is another change too. So the Rovo AI layer is deeply integrated now. It can triage requests, resolve common incidents, provide knowledge suggestions, surface root causes, automate workflows, and also apply no-code custom agents via the Rovo Studio. For operations teams, new Rovo Ops capability, which is coming soon for devs as well, will be able to support alert grouping, root cause analysis, and service graph visualization. That's going to be a key improvement to what was available before. And also integrations with observability tools such as Dynatrace, New Relic, Big Panda to automate auto-respond to those incidents. Also, the assets and objects database is now even more connected to the teamwork graph and AI. So for example, you can query assets via AI, you can link assets to tickets as you could before, and then you can also get dependency context automatically. And we're going to take a look at that in a little bit. Also for assets in the CMDB and service graph improvements. So we also now have Data Manager. This is now in general release, and it will aggregate asset data from 20+ sources that will also cleanse and reconcile that data into your CMDB. Also increased scale for enterprise. The support for objects is now up to 500,000. So you now get 500,000 objects, and more are planned as well, and lower per object overage pricing. So if you go over the 500,000, I believe your cost is 2 cents per object, and it scales down to 1 cent as you increase your object count. For premium, the limit is still 50,000, just so everyone is aware. And then you still go over and you'll pay 2 cents or 1 cent for any additional object. Also, in terms of assets in general, there's also the service graph concept. So this is linking assets, services, teams, and tickets. It's more integrated, meaning there's going to be fewer blind spots when you're doing things like incident change and service impact analysis. In terms of packaging and pricing, we're happy to talk to you about that. But one thing to notice for existing JSM customers, you can opt in now, but if you don't, Atlassian will automatically transition your JSM subscription into the service collection during your renewal. And you can certainly talk to any of our sales reps about that anytime. And importantly, the per agent price remains the same as JSM before. What's added is CSM plus the assets plus the Rovo capabilities at no extra cost in many cases. And also a strategic, and let's talk about operational implications. So this is the shift from a tool for IT only to a true service platform for IT business as well as customers. And it's a move from reactive support to proactive service, which is, I think, something we were all waiting for with the advent of AI. Now we can do things like AI predicting, preventing issues, and linking asset and service impact context earlier. Also, simplification of the landscape. There's fewer standalone tools now. So potentially that can lower your integration and maintenance burden as well. And also, this is all in the cloud. So no upgrades, no patching is something that you'll have to maintain. It's simply released automatically. And then for implementation planning, you'll definitely want to evaluate how the service collection can meet your use cases for internal IT, external customer support, and asset management. We're expecting a lot of our current customers who utilize JSM to come back to us and say, these are really interesting new features. Let's talk about how we now move out our external service desk from our core JSM tool into CSM. And we're certainly starting to work with that with a couple of our clients. This is brand new though, so definitely take some time to play around with it, ask us questions, happy to get on a call to talk about it as well. And finally, when it comes to the service collection, let's talk about some implications for your organization. So there's that, again, that consolidation opportunity. If you currently have separate tools for the internal ITSM and external customer service, then this offers you a path to consolidate that into one platform, hopefully saving you money doing that. And also, because I'm just going to call it ASC, the Atlassian Service Collection uses the same additions and per agent licensing as JSM previously, you can avoid unexpected cost uplift while gaining those additional capabilities. And future proofing. So the AI and automation layer, meaning Rovo in this case, means that this platform is designed for next gen service operations. If your roadmap includes more automation and self-service or proactive monitoring, the service collection will definitely better support that. Also, pieces like integration and seamless flow. So the fact that asset service management, AI, and customer service are now all natively tied means fewer silos, fewer handoffs, and hopefully better visibility across internal and external service operations. And all of these features can still be utilized to hook up Jira software as well. So again, we're going to end with incident management. We'll talk about those links there, but the service collection will still work very well with Jira software and other Atlassian collection tools as well. Also, risk mitigation. So the automatic transitioning of existing JSM pieces to the service collection means that you can now be aware of timing, opt-in options, implications for renewal, licensing, and contract terms. So do expect a phone call or contact from Atlassian and Valiantys when it comes to your licensing there. And then metrics and value. So one thing to consider when you're using quite a few different tools is how do you measure success? Is it time to resolution, first contact resolution, deflection via self-service, asset-related incident reduction, cross-team collaboration efficiency? You can use all of those to build that business case for the collection itself. And then also governance and data quality. With enhanced asset and CI and AI capability, the need for good data in terms of asset inventories, relationships, configuration items, and service mapping is definitely heightened. So your rationalization process should include all of those pieces in terms of data readiness, taxonomy, standardization, and even governance of AI agent usage. And one small plug also, we have a really nice governance transformation assessment that if you're interested in, we can certainly give you more information from that as well. Brianna, if you wouldn't mind putting a link in there for that, that would be great in the chat. Okay, a couple of other pieces for the service collection. So a couple of questions to ask yourself and to bring up to your coworkers and colleagues and people who might be interested in this is, how are you currently using separate tools for ITSM, customer support, asset management, and even AI triage? What is the cost and complexity that that brings? And is there a possible way to save some money by doing that consolidation and really moving to the service collection in its entirety? Do you have a strategic goal where you're trying to unify internal employee support as well as external customer support on one platform? If so, the service collection is definitely going to help you achieve that. Also, what is your current asset and CI visibility? Do you have full context mapping of hardware, software, services, etc.? And just a couple more questions before we dive in here. How far are you in your automation, self-service, and AI roadmap? And what kind of features are you looking for? The roadmap for cloud will give you quite a bit of information on what's still to come. And when it comes to the CSM piece, quite a bit is still to come. So keep that in mind as well. And then what use cases can you pilot first? So because the CSM piece will be rolling out over the next few months to all current JSM clients, you can start playing with it as a pilot. If you're interested in a POC, again, please give us a call. We'll be happy to talk to you about that and some of the options there. But some things to take advantage of is I would play around with the tool and see if it's something that you might be able to use going forward. And maybe not just for your external customer base. Maybe you have a piece of your company internally that really just wants a really simple way to ask for help. You can also create a customer experience just for them as well. Okay. And let's now start the show. Okay, I believe we have this link in our chat here if we need to talk about that. So if you need to take a look at it, just go ahead and click on that. And again, if you have any questions, please let us know. Okay, let's talk about CSM, Customer Service Management. Okay, we're going to get rid of this just a second. We're going to talk about CSM. So what is JSM versus CSM? What are the general differences here? So JSM is Atlassian's tool that helps developers, dev, and IT and business teams manage and track requests, incidents, and supports, and support tasks in one place. Customer Service Management is a tool that helps teams handle and respond to customer questions and support questions from outside the company. So one thing I want to show you is the difference between the two here. So first, I'm actually going to get out of this. I'm going to go to my Greater Help Center. So this is my Greater Internal Help Center here, whereas I'm going to go to my customer experience. And there it is right here. My customer experience looks very different. And you've certainly probably seen this before if you've ever put in a ticket for something that you needed help with. But this is far more simplified than the original internal help desk. You can still do all kinds of things like put things in groups in your internal place. You can have quick links, etc. Really to depart more information for your internal space. But for a lot of customers, this can be confusing. Plus, having to lock down permissions and features for different customer groups and organizations can be a real headache for your administrative staff alone, let alone just your customers. For me as a customer, when I want something, I want it now, and actually I want it yesterday. So I want the simplest path and the path of least resistance to getting someone to help me with my issue. This, for some customers, might just be too much information, too many options. They just don't care, and it might turn them off completely. And that's the last thing we want. So instead, we're going to take advantage of the customer experience within this new customer service management piece. So that really is the hook here. The hook is it matters because many organizations today for customer facing support teams really don't, they face distinct challenges. They face different SLAs, external customers, multi-channel intake, and there's a need for a great experience, but also easy visibility. So the new CSM app is designed specifically for that external customer support, not just internal service desk. It can bring customer context, AI-assisted workflows, and cross-team connectivity for your users and your agents. So a couple of things to note here. This is what we call the customer service experience, but we're going to go into the customer service management first to take a look around here. So we can see that if I click on my little waffle here, I can see all the products that I have access to, and customer service management is now right underneath Jira Service Management for me. Also, you have access to Rovo Dev if you want to play around with that. But this is a completely separate tool. It will show up in the same area as your JSM spaces, just like this one, like Wonka Operations. This is in my internal JSM tool itself. Willy Wonka CSM. This is strictly for the customer service management piece. So let's just familiarize yourselves around the room here. So number one, all of your, when this does roll out to your instance, you will get all of this information too. And there is a ton of documentation available already in terms of setting this up, playing around with it, and what some of these pieces are going to mean. So we're not going to dive into every single piece, but we'll talk about a good amount of them. So, and right here from where you can see, you can create separate customer experiences for different customer groups. In this case, we start out with the queues. We have a view all queues here. We can have queues for teams, queues for types of issues that are requested within the customer experience itself. It works just like JSM. Pretty much everything in this area is going to work very much like JSM. So there's not going to be a huge learning curve there. There's just going to be some new areas to get used to, especially heavy usage of Atlassian Studio, where you now pretty much do everything that you're going to do when it comes to creating agents, AI agents, and the like. Underneath the queues, we can also have reports. So reports can show us things like, again, workload, satisfaction, request deflected, request resolved, and then Atlassian Analytics as well. If you have Premium, you do get a taste of Atlassian Analytics within this as well. And then I can see archived work items and add shortcut. As we can see here, if I expand Wonka Operations in JSM, there's quite a bit more here. That's because this is meant to have more types of issues in them. It's usually meant to have more people looking at it and making requests. And it's not meant to be super simplified. It can be, but it's really not meant to be. The CSM piece is definitely meant to do that. So let's click on Get Started one more time. So there are four main pieces that you would set up for this. And one other thing too is the difference in why. So the CSM app was built by Atlassian to augment JSM, again, for external customer support teams. It's purpose built for that use case. It runs on the teamwork graph, which is that platform intelligence layer that connects data across Atlassian and third-party tools and services relevant context automatically. What sets it apart is, in my opinion, a rich customer and organizational profile. So agents will have context when items are submitted. Also, AI-powered self-service and agent assist, which we'll take a look at in a moment. Cross-team escalation, so support and DevOps can be connected seamlessly. We can even forward items to other teams in JSM and Jira software projects. And then while you do have JSM already supporting those customer portals, this app layers on a customer service depth that is personalized and proactive and connected. Okay, let's talk about some key features here. So customer and organizational context. So agents can now view things like detailed customer profiles with contact info, past requests, entitlements, or even product usage as those capabilities become even more available widespread. Let's take a look at queues here. We'll take a look at, I believe there's just one open. We'll create another one while I'm here. So here we can see there's a difference here. This is not your typical incident, or it's actually not a problem record. It's different. It's a CSM problem record. It's not a service request, and it's not a change request. Well, let's take a look at this. And to see everything that we're looking at right here, you do have to have a license. To go to the customer experience, you certainly do not have to have a license. So this is a pretty simple form here, and we can see the word form here. So if I click this down here, this is going to be the actual form that I submitted within the customer experience. So let's go up to Willy Wonka and take a look at this. From the customer experience piece, number one, you can create several different customer experiences and have different URLs for all of them to target specific external customer groups. But in this case, we just made it simple. One thing to note is all of this text can be changed as well, including all the colors. And I believe more graphics are on the way on the roadmap. One interesting piece here is also a Rovo agent. So instead of just virtual agents, which we have seen in previous webinars that live inside your internal help desk, now there's going to be a pop-up agent that can help you out. And same thing for, I believe, Wonka operations. I believe we've now added that as well. Just a second. There it is. So in the operations, you can now add this Rovo agent to pop up. And it really helps you get rid of some of the virtual agents that you may have had to program previously. This gives you some immediate help here, like I need a software license or I need something else. Rovo is going to work like a chat GPT for your organization here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too later on. This can also help create tickets. The same thing can be said for the customer experience piece. So let's just say, I'm just going to go ahead. Okay. Once I click on return, it's going to give me all of the options that I have here. As we can see, there's a number of words that I've actually already put in for this particular AI agent. And I'm just going to click on Candy here. And we're going to see that this is an AI agent that I have only put in some words for. I have done nothing else in terms of the responses that are coming. This is all coming via the Rovo agent in this customer experience piece here. So this is going to tell me, hi, we offer a delightful selection of candy, including Wonka bars, etc., and Wonka pops. This is coming from the Candyland FAQ that I had posted, and we're going to take a look at that in just a second. So this Rovo agent can give me more information. It can also help me create a ticket if I want to, or I can click on Contact Us. In this case, I'm going to end this chat here, and I'm going to click on Candyland Frequently Asked Questions. This is also a knowledge base article. It's in a different space than you would typically see in other areas. And we can see that there's not a lot of information in this. You can certainly put much more. This is for demo purposes only, but you can still do everything in these knowledge base articles that you could do for JSM internally. There's still a Confluence page. And you do get a Confluence space that you can use if you are not yet a Confluence user, although I highly suggest that you are. You can use the space that comes with JSM to both house your JSM knowledge base articles for your internal users, but also external user base knowledge articles as well. You can also still use your knowledge base articles for your agents as well, just to keep that in mind. So from the user experience, if there are frequently asked questions I have or other knowledge base articles, they can show up in the middle there. I can also put them in a different area of this tool as well if I want to. But you can really see that this is meant to be a simplified way to get information to your customers as soon as possible. And this Rovo agent is going to stay down here this whole time too. One thing to note also about AI is you really do want to use the up and down, thumbs up or thumbs down whenever possible when you're using AI pieces within the JSM and service collection tools. This is going to help train that agent every time you use that. In this case, I'll say yes. I'm going to go back to my home. Just like in the greater help desk, if I click on home, it's going to take me back to this front page for this customer experience. Okay, so now that I've already showed you the Rovo agent here, and I've also showed the Candyland frequently asked questions, let's take a look at the forms that we have available to use. So just like in the greater help desk, we can choose what forms we show and what forms are available to our users. And hopefully we're not going to have more than a couple because again, this CSM piece is meant to be a streamlined, effective, personal experience whenever possible for your external user base. So there are a couple of different things. I've renamed them. This is going to be I believe this is an ask a question. So that's an ask a question form, or I can click on the Trouble in Wonka World, which is the problem or report a problem, much like an incident, but works a little bit differently. Or I can click on the suggestion for Wonka service. So not only can I come here to get help for these different items, but I can also now have suggestions, and I can create additional work item types as well. But our suggestion is that you start out with the first three that are given and then just add new fields to it as you would, and then test it out, see how it works. Have a pilot group of internal employees acting as external agents and really see how well this works and what their suggestions might be. So let's go back to Candy Page. And we'll put in a description, and we'll even put in some detail, some additional detail here. So I love chocolate, because who doesn't? And then details. I would like more chocolate. Let's just keep it simple. So now I'm going to click on submit. So now at this point, we can go immediately to our view request. The user experience in the CSM piece is going to be just a little bit different in terms of how you're viewing your request. You can certainly still go up to your profile and settings, and you can also edit site if you have that admin piece. But instead of seeing all of those tickets there, you're going to be able to see them down here. So I'm going to click on view requests. I can already see that there are two that are submitted here. This being the first one, this was a problem ticket that I tested out, I believe, yesterday. So let's open that up very quickly. So this is going to be a pretty stock standard request saying, hey, I didn't receive my candy, and here's my order number. Again, these are the only two fields that I put in that particular problem record. You can certainly add many more as you go along. And then conversation history. So if you're collaborating with an agent, then you're going to see that history up here. So how it looks is a little bit different, but again, it's meant to be simple. It's meant to be easy on the eyes, and it's meant for your customers to be able to put in detail without having to worry about 20 different detailed fields that have all kinds of values in them. We want the customers to be taken care of as quickly as possible. We can always collaborate with them and communicate with them after they've submitted this request to get more information as needed, or even call them up on the phone for an even more personal experience. Okay. If I wanted to go right to my request, I'm going to click on my little archive inbox here, file box, file cabinet, and then click on my request. And I can also filter a different way here too. So again, from the start, this is meant to be a simple, easy to see, easy to use experience. And this is really going to be the sum total of the external customer experience. You can make these banners wider if you want. I happen to like them a little bit smaller here. I just think it's easier on the eyes. But in my opinion, this is something that we've needed for years. And I'm so excited to see that. I'm really excited to start implementing this for customers as well. Okay, let's go back to the actual CSM piece and take a look at what am I talking about when I say customer experience? Because right here, there's really not a lot to look at here, right? There's the actual space name, there's the get started area where I can take a look at some notes here, but what does it all really mean? And what does get my support team up and running do, and et cetera, et cetera. So let's take a look at what this actually means. We are going to scroll down to customer experiences. This is where we're going to create our customer experiences or edit them. And we're going to do this right now. So I clicked on the existing experience here, and now we can see a number of items here, including the details. So what is this experience name? Who has access to this? And also I can add a team here if I want to. And then what is the linked space? So the customer experience will always need a customer service management space or workspace. Again, this has been renamed from projects. We're not talking about Confluence. This is the CSM app that is in JSM. Clicking on forms, this is where we're going to get to our request types and where we can start editing them. So if I want to click on this one and add more fields, it's going to be the same experience as it is for your internal area. Just drag and drop, and then you can also add more details, change that display name, etc. And then you can also choose where those form submissions will be sent and how they will be categorized. So for this question, we can send it to this space, or we can send it to other CSM spaces as well. And you can use these different customer service experiences with different CSM spaces, but you have to have at least one. In terms of the articles for your knowledge base, this is where you're going to get that as well. So you can click into that and then start editing right in this UI, which is really handy. So you don't actually have to leave this UI to create, edit, and delete these as well. And branding. Branding is going to just be exactly what you see. You're going to see that brand logo, the tile for it, and you can choose your colors as you like. And then channels as well. So channels, you can have a support website for this. You can also set up your email for this. So you could have just email ingestion for that customer experience, but it will still give you a more simplified way to work within those different request types. And then clicking on pages, this is where I can see some examples of what's available to me in customer service experiences in general. Also, customer access. This is going to be, again, the same thing as you would see for the JSM portal, and then the customer service agent. So what we had seen previously is, and I want to go into my studio in just a second, what we saw previously is just your stock AI agent there. And that itself was already pretty robust. As long as I had one knowledge base article in there, it's going to give me a bunch of different conversations for what I'm looking for. But as we wanted to go into studio here, I wanted to show what we're talking about, because this used to be for your virtual agents. Now it's for your Rovo agents, and they call them AI agents now. So the overview is, okay, this is going to give me the number one, the version of the customer service agent that I created. We can see some conversation starters here. Also, this is going to show me my knowledge space. Also the handoff. So if I want to hand this off or hand off requests made immediately to others or other agents, we can do that pretty quickly. Also for knowledge, again, this is where your knowledge space is going to be. And then you can also add in guidance for things like the handoff. So I'm going to add this up. So you can add things like handoff, the triggers for it. When do I now send this to someone in a different team or a different space to work on that? I can also configure actions here, so I can create actions for these different agents based on a number of different items. And all of this is no code, which I also heavily appreciate. Then you can also monitor things like, again, reporting here, and then conversation reviews as well. Okay, so how do I put this? The string or the path to this is when you're in JSM. In fact, let's go back to, here we go. When you're in JSM, you're going to start by creating your customer service management space. And then you're going to create your customer experience. And from there, you then program your Rovo AI agents. So you start getting a lot more information and a lot more conversational information for them. And this is all within Jira and JSM as well. And I've got a couple of different frequently asked questions already. So I'm going to go ahead and answer them. Give me 1 second. Okay, actually a couple of caveats to think about too. So the CSM app, again, is a part of Atlassian Service Collection. It is not a standalone app that you can purchase. And while many features are available, some are still definitely going to be evolving. So just keep that in mind. The roadmap for this is going to be chock full of new features that are released over the next 6 months and year. And probably 2 years from now, it might even look completely different, because I know that there's some big plans on the back end that I'm excited to hear more about soon. So, okay. Okay, I think I've talked a little bit more about CSM than I had planned. So let's go ahead and move on to Atlassian Intelligence. And again, if you have any questions about CSM in general, please don't hesitate to drop a comment in the questions area, and we'll get back to you when we have more time. Okay, delete that. Rid of that. Okay, and just to show in terms of Confluence what we were talking about previously, so this is going to be that space that I had mentioned that we set up specifically for the Wonka service and the Willy Wonka demo today. That, and get out of that. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about Atlassian Intelligence. As I'm hoping that we all know by now, Atlassian Intelligence is the suite of AI-powered capabilities that are built into the Atlassian Cloud products. In the context of JSM, there are a couple of different things that we can do. So we can upscale self-service featuring those virtual agents or chatbots that can handle that tier 1 support request and triage and route them as well. We can also accelerate agent productivity with summaries of tickets, suggested next actions, and knowledge article suggestions. So let's take a look at a couple of things here. In terms of AI, we all know about Rovo. We'll take a look at Rovo in just a second. But I also want to make sure that we're not forgetting about the other pieces as well. So for this particular change item work type, we can see that this includes AI in this risk summary panel here for the different changes and incidents. The changes and incidents are going to be found via AI and a couple of other things. It's really important to utilize this whenever possible and to pay attention to that risk summary there. Also, I'm going to get rid of that so I can see down here. In terms of the knowledge base articles, again, if you haven't seen a previous webinar, knowledge base articles found three ways: narrative in the title, narrative in the actual article itself, and then any labels applied to it. So you can create knowledge base articles and should create knowledge base articles for your agents only. That can also be found. This is found here via also AI too. Also, there is now a similar request panel, and you can see that that also utilizes AI. You can turn this on and off for most, I believe, all of your different projects and spaces that you have within JSM. If you don't want to see the similar request panel, you definitely don't have to. And again, please definitely use these results in the feedback so that Rovo and AI will learn better. They learn with each conversation and each action. And then also playbook. So playbooks is not part of AI. We're going to talk about that in incident management in just a little bit, though. Also, other pieces for AI are summarizing comments. So if I add an internal note, I can just say comment example. I really like this feature because especially when you're working with tools that have quite a few different pieces in it, and you don't have time to look at 25 different entries, if you just click on summarize comments, then Rovo is going to give you a nice succinct paragraph that you can then throw into any email, and then they can take care of it from there. Okay, also a couple of other pieces that I wanted to show really quickly. I'm going to go into my project settings or my space settings. It's going to take me a while to stop saying project. I'm going to go into space settings, and then I'm going to go into my request management and request types. So I'm going to click on service requests here. And I'm going to go to create request type, and I'm going to create this using Rovo. So let's say I'm going to say create a new request for to do the candy theme. Okay, so using natural language, again, one of my favorite pieces of all of the AI when it comes to Atlassian is using that natural language here. But I'm going to create this. I'm going to click on create. And I'm going to leave things as they are. Click on next. I'll put it in common requests and click on create. Okay, and the piece that I really wanted to show is this suggest field area. So these fields here already exist. They are already part of the created request type, but they also already exist within this particular context of Wonka operation. But if I click on suggest fields, yeah, I want to try that out. It's going to give me these three up here. So these are brand new fields that do not currently exist in my instance in this space or project, or let's just call it workspace. And it's suggesting that I add this. This gives you so much more proactive support, can give you much more information and detail depending on the use case that we're talking about. So it can just, again, just inform your agents as well as the people that you're granting service management to. Really big fan of this field here, this piece of AI. And this might even spur you to create new fields that you hadn't thought of previously. So highly suggest you use the suggest fields piece just to take a look at what you thinks you might like. You might not use all of them, but one or two might come in handy for sure. We're gonna go ahead and discard that piece. Okay. Okay. And also for these summarized piece, that can really do a lot for helping your agents in terms of productivity. So instead of making them read through every single piece within that particular request, having them summarize it is going to make things much easier for them and get them to the points that they need quicker. Okay, we're going to talk about the Atlassian intelligence piece when it comes to incident management later on in the webinar. And I'm just scrolling down here, make sure I've got everything I need. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about in terms of application rationalization. There's also other things that you can do when it comes to asset context. So if you use the assets and CI capabilities of JSM, or the broader service collection. AI-enabled triage or incident analysis that will have richer context can help you make some smarter decisions with less manual lookup of relationships. We're going to talk about assets in just a couple of minutes here. Also, implementation planning, change management, introducing AI into service operations means change management agents can and may need training to use AI assist tools to monitor and refine those virtual agent performances. We do offer AI training here as well as a full suite of Atlassian training at Valiantys. Brianna, if you could throw in the training link into the chat if you have not already. Please take a look at our catalog. It is constantly changing. We are always adding more items to it as well. Okay. And I believe all of the AI pieces that are currently in JSM are all general release. I don't think any of them are in beta anymore. Even the CSM piece is now a wide release. So I think everything that's available is shown. But again, we'll take a look at the incident and triaging for alerts in just a little bit. Okay. Okay. One more second. And we are now at 10:52. I'm just keeping an eye on our time here. Okay, let's talk about Rovo. So Rovo is the most popular piece of AI for sure within JSM and probably most places in general. I'm going to get rid of that just a second. Make this a little bit bigger. So what is Rovo exactly? So Rovo is a set of agents. It's what the virtual agents have really been renamed in general too. So that's important to note. Sorry, just one more second. Just a bit of an issue. Okay. In terms of what it is, a Rovo, again, it's AI assisted for things like ticket summaries, smart issue search, and natural language queries. You can do automated request categorization and assignment for AI. And then you can also do many, many more things like writing assistance to improve, shorten, or rephrase responses directly in the issue or comment field. When would you use things like AI or Rovo? When you're scaling service operations and you need to reduce manual triage or repetitive work, when ticket volumes are high and teams are spending significant times on things like classification and response tracking, when you want to improve your customer satisfaction in general and reduce mean time to resolution, when you are migrating or even expanding within your JSM cloud or premium or enterprise, where Atlassian AI features are natively effective. So let's talk about Rovo specifically. Okay, one thing to note about Rovo agents, Rovo will access all of your Atlassian products. It will use natural language and it respects your permissions. So when I say it respects your permissions, I mean, if I'm asking Rovo to show me a knowledge base article for HR and I don't have the customer access to that area, then it will not bring up that knowledge base article for me at all. It will say, I'm sorry, we're unable to find what you're looking for. Let's try XYZ. So that's important to know. It does respect your permissions across spaces, across tool sets. You can also do things like bookmark information cards and create information cards with this as well. And you can gain context with definitions, and you can utilize chat to get answers quickly. So let's go into Rovo. So when I just click on the Rovo button here, there's a couple of pieces. So number one, we typically start right up here. Get that back to where I want to go. And actually I want to go into my operations again. Make this a little cleaner. Okay. Just a little bit wider so we can play around with it. Okay, so we click on our Ask Rovo, and then there's a nice menu here. And you can also get to a new area for agents here. You can start new chats here. So when I look down here, this is what we would consider a chat. And we can also do things like mention someone. So we can share chats and information with other people if we wanted to. But we're going to start here. So the first thing that we're going to get is a list of common questions or questions that are informed by things that I may have asked Rovo previously. One thing to note, Rovo uses deep research to help you for all kinds of things, such as preparing for executive briefings, strategy sessions, It can synthesize customer feedback or even incident history, does things like audit documentation for any gaps, create product requirement documents, as well as creating a thorough, well-documented answer quickly. One thing to note also is you can upload files to use Rovo to summarize, let's say, a lengthy PDF or a Word doc, and then you can extract those key points. It can also analyze, let's say, a sales spreadsheet and compare it to KPIs. It can then add a summary to a planning doc. It can review code files for errors or improvements. But let's just start playing around with this. So I'm going to click on this. And it's going to think. Some questions will take longer than others. And one thing to note also is you don't always get amazing results with just one prompt in Rovo, just like with any other AI tool. So keep iterating and use follow-up prompts until you get the result that you're looking for. Because chat is conversational, you can always follow up by asking for an answer. So in a different format, such as bullet points, a table, an email or HTML, or shorter or longer, such as within a specific word count or a top 3 list. You can also use a different tone, such as a formal tone, instructional, or at a particular reading level even. It's pretty powerful that way. And then with more context or detail, you can say, okay, what if I suggested as if I'm writing as a specific persona or following a more specific set of instructions or even parameters. Also, Rovo always keeps a history of your interaction. That's something to note. Chat will store your messages and the answers that you receive for 30 days, so you can retrieve and display your conversational history. You can also utilize a Confluence space if you have one, if you're a Confluence user, and have just a part of your personal space or a folder for Rovo chats when you know that they're going to be expiring. So important to note, you do get 30 days to utilize prior chat. And also, if you select a prior chat, you can also switch to the current chat back and forth the conversation just by continuing where you left off. Okay. All right. So now we found some answers here for the question that I put in. And after taking a look at all of our instances, it's going to give me this piece here. And then if I wanted to say, go ask for more information or a completely different piece, I can start clicking on these areas here. I can also copy this. And again, please use the thumbs up and thumbs down piece for this. One of the things you can do with Rovo and Rovo agent use cases is ask for proactive pieces. Like, show me all of the, let's say, show me all hardware involved in an incident in the last year. Don't have to worry about capitalization, punctuation, really natural language is all that it's looking for. And as you can see here, it's calculating through different projects, different areas that I have access to. And now this has created a filter for me. I love AI. It's created this filter for me, although I don't need to click on it because there are 0 issues here. But if there were hardware involved incidents, this is going to give me a list of all the different incidents that had it in it. And then I can crunch that data down even more to figure out and determine exactly what kinds of hardware were the problem children in this case. Was it one specific laptop model? Was it a specific server or something that was decommissioned or who knows what it was? But you can really start to get proactive as opposed to simply reactive here. And then you can also create reminders to have these filters and subscriptions to these filters so that you get it on a regular basis. And one thing I'm going to show you when it comes to asset management too is an automation rule that was partially created with Rovo to find some lifecycle management pieces within it. A couple of things to note about Rovo. You can switch to another agent even when you're currently in this one. So in this case, let's say I'll do service triage here, and it's going to immediately put you right to where you are. You can get rid of that context if you don't want it there. And then you can start utilizing these different pieces here. Also, one thing to note is you can copy links to these different Rovo agents and share them with others. You can also favorite them. You can also view things like an agent profile. So if you wanted to create another Rovo agent utilizing the same pieces in here, this is going to give you all the information that you need with it. You can even chat with a Rovo agent while you're looking at this particular area. There's just so many things that you can do here. Let's go back to our Rovo. Okay. I can also start new chats right from here. I can view all agents in here as well as any chats that I've previously been put into. Okay. All right, we're right around about the 11 o'clock mark. I think we're going to stop here and take a quick break, and then we will come back in just 5 minutes. And we'll come back in just about 2 minutes. And just one more minute, and we'll return. Okay, let's dive back in and let's talk more about Rovo. So there are several different examples of in terms of Rovo agents that you can create within the tool that are proactive. One being an infrastructure monitoring agent, let's say. So this kind of an agent can continuously monitor your systems, such as servers, networks, or endpoints for anomalous behavior. So let's say when a threshold is crossed or an agent triggers a remediation action before a user impact. Why would you use something like that? So if you want to reduce downtime and shift from reactively fixing outages to preventing them, you can utilize that for AI high availability services. Also, AI ticket triage and assignment for those agents. Self-service or virtual agent, again, that chatbot that we saw in both the Wonka operations as well as the customer experience. Also, knowledge-based suggestion and generation agents as well. And then root cause and problem identification agent. So if you're utilizing PIRs, which we'll talk about in incident management, then that's going to give you more information to utilize that area. Also, you can check out the change and risk assessment agent, and you can create many, many more from there. One thing to note is, again, highly recommend that you take a look at our hour-long Rovo training session for free, which I believe that link is in the chat. That's going to give you real world examples of Rovo agents that we create on the fly. No sales within that. It's really just a solid hour of training in Rovo. Okay, going back to Rovo here, in terms of what that means. If I wanted to chat with Rovo again, I'm just going to click on this, but I can also switch to another agent. One thing to note also, you can find agents within the main search bar here as well. You don't just have to click on Rovo. And then you can also do things like create this new service chat here. You can also do things like have a Chrome extension, so this can be utilized no matter where you are. You can also copy agents once you were in that previous screen that we saw. So if I wanted to utilize this agent and then just tweak it a little bit, we can easily do that. But really, there's just so many different types of agents that we can utilize. You can favorite them, have agents that you've created that are just for you, and then you can create new ones right from here as well, all in the same area. Team recap is a really interesting piece too if you're utilizing the team themes within JSM. Also, learning coach, Wonka operations. So this is what I'm currently using in my Wonka operations that we saw previously in the greater help desk. So if I have permission to see other things, this is where I'm going to see all of the agents that were created. One of the other things too that I really appreciate is a workflow builder. So this can help you in creating different workflows, starting them from scratch and then creating them as you go. Okay, now we are at 11:07. Make sure I'm covering everything else here. I'm definitely expecting some questions on Rovo, so I'm looking forward to those. And let's talk about metrics and KPIs. So to measure Rovo's impact, you can do things like take a look at the percentage of service requests that are handled or deflected by a virtual agent without any human intervention. Look for reduced average resolution times for repetitive requests. An agent or a technician time saved or time freed up because Rovo has done things in the back end or in the background. Improved first time resolution rate. So agents can certainly use Rovo too to help them find different areas and pieces of whatever's going on. Look for previous history. Maybe the service panel in the initial request is not giving them as much information as they want, so they can start a chat with a Rovo agent and then just start getting information from all of your different products too. Increase in agent satisfaction, certainly, and a reduction in that manual triage time. I'm a big fan of using AI for just general questions and helping me to write things a little bit better with a more professional tone. And I'm sure agents will appreciate being able to find information about the different requests that come in for both the CSM piece as well as the JSM piece. Also, governance metrics. So there are a lot of agents that can be configured and used for feedback loops and that can run and data sources updated as well. Okay. And one other thing too, in terms of how is Rovo different when it's used in a service management context, for example, with JSM versus, let's say, general use. So you can, again, power those virtual service agents or chat bots with triage requests, answer right from that knowledge base, and also escalate to created tickets. You can connect ticket and asset and CI data for richer context. And then you can also automate incident workflows and integrate with service operation. So Rovo can really provide a search across all service data for agents and customers functionality. And that can also focus on your service and asset management. Rovo is going to offer that hopefully meaningful value by connecting that context with automation, plus knowledge, plus the servicing aspect as well. So powerful tools in total for AI. And just very quickly, if I want to click on triage here, this is going to be another piece of AI that can triage all of my work items based on a number of different things. Just give this a second. Okay, so this is going to tell me that there are some things that I need to modify, and these are the things that I need to take care of first. I can also update 8 work items right from here if I wanted to. Okay. As we can see, this piece is actually still in beta, but I believe it's still available in your premium enterprise as it is. Okay. Okay, let's move on to asset. Okay, what is asset and configuration management in JSM Cloud? This is a native module named assets for asset and configuration item management. It's included in the premium and enterprise plans of JSM Cloud. And the goal is to let organizations track everything from physical hardware, software licenses, business services, infrastructure components to employee-facing resources, and then link all of those assets and those CIs to those service requests, incidents, changes, and more. If you're not using assets within JSM, you are missing out on so much information and context. Really, really encourage you to use them, even if you start simply. So the thing to note about what we're talking about with assets in general, it's made of three things generally. It's made of object schemas. So these are the matrices for the different pieces that we're going to be covering and tracking. And I'm going to go into my supported Candy Pops. I've renamed this from laptop to Candy Pops. And we can see that these are my supported models of these different computers that I have access to. Also, these objects, so each of these is a singular object. Each of these objects will be, because they're in the same area of the schema tree, they're going to have a number of attributes. So you start with the asset schema itself, then you populate it with your objects, and then you populate your attributes, these being the attributes right here, target role, status, storage, etc. You create those attributes to inform you on this particular object. So many things can be done with this in terms of lifecycle management, in terms of fulfillment of items, licensing fulfillment, really you name it. If your person or location has interactions with anything that's related to an asset, this can give you more information about it and reduce a lot of manual work there as well. A couple things to note in terms of target roles. So when we're in a, let's say, Wonka operations, I'm gonna open this one up here. Let's say we're in a request type. And again, you're going to see this Rovo agent pop up here. But you're going to see something like an affected service field. This is a custom field that has asset objects in it. So each of these items here is an asset object. And once that asset object is chosen, then we can do all kinds of things surrounding it. So the object types are going to end up as values in your custom fields for asset management that are going to go into your different request types or requests that your clients or users will be putting in, whether they're internal or external. You can also have references for all of those objects as well. As we can see down here for these linked objects, we can see outbound references and inbound references. That's going to be really important because if I want to see how something relates to one another, I'm just going to click on this little squiggly here, and I can see everything that has a reference back and forth to this. But going back to this particular piece here, let's actually go into our other piece, which is Service Desk. Go into my group, I'm going to go into Common Requests. Okay, so when it comes to requesting a new notebook, instead of, let's say, having a user have access to all of the different models that are available, you can have a hidden field on the back end inform on a project or target role. So if they fit this certain role, then that means that you can give them only certain access to certain objects or, let's say, models. Let's say a VIP or an executive is going to have access to probably a more expensive machine than somebody else might. Or dev might have access to the most expensive machine available because they do the most work on the back end there. So you can separate that out instead of within this particular field giving you a gajillion different models to choose from. You can set it up so that certain people only have access to certain values based on what we're putting in here for things like project models, for things like monitors, phones, laptops, software, etc. Also works really well with HR. You can set up target roles, target personas. So when you're onboarding new people into those different roles and personas, then they can have automatic tickets set up and automatic bundles of equipment and licensing set up for them, mailed physically and activated virtually as well. One piece that I like when it comes to the asset lifecycle management is automation. So when it comes to lifecycle management and assets, we're definitely going to use quite a bit of automation in general. One example is Candy Pops expiring. So we're going to go into this here. we can see here that there are two different tasks here. This right here is a subtask. This is the parent task that we can see up here. What happened here is automation created all of this. I didn't create anything at all. The only thing that was created was the automation rule itself. So let's take a look at this. So this is scheduled every 30 minutes. I'm going to turn this off as soon as this demo is done, so I stop getting emails about it. But what's going to happen is I get an email letting me know that there is a candy pop expiring, and I'm going to bring one of those up right now. One moment, please. Okay. So this automation says, what I want you to do is look up objects in the IT employee asset schema. I want you to then, when you find that something has expired, so we can see here warranty expiration date is less than 30 days or is about to expire, then I want to do several different things. I want to send an email to whoever is going to be assigned to these, so maybe somebody in procurement, or maybe it's just going to be for informational purposes to procurement, letting them know that these are expiring and we're going to be ordering more. So the example to that, if I bring up this email, is now, this is what I'm getting now in my email every 30 minutes, that there is going to be the following warranties that expire, etc. So now we know that there are things that are going to be expiring. So I have now been informed of this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new service request in Wonka operations, which is right here. Right there. This is going to be the parent ticket here. And then underneath that parent ticket, we can create all of these subtasks. These were all created automatically. So instead of having an agent having to go and visually, which would be a nightmare, look at all those different warranty expiration dates, we can simply use this automation rule to scan for it ourselves and then automatically create the parent ticket for procurement or whatever project you want to put it in. And then the subtasks underneath that, because maybe for ordering more laptops or candy pops, that you're going to have several different subtasks that are going to be assigned to different people. Maybe we can even break down, not maybe, we can even break down the automation rule to look for equipment in different business units and create different procurement tickets in different business projects or spaces. There's just, or different queues, and have them set there and have them automatically assigned to people as well. Really, the only limitation when it comes to automation and lifecycle management is your imagination when it comes to automation here. There's so many different things that we can do from start to finish. Okay, so the actions. So number one, we have the scheduled. So this is going to be my trigger. Automations are made up of three things: triggers, components or conditions, and actions. This is my trigger. These are now my components. I'm looking up the IT employee assets. And then I'm getting into my actual actions here. So I want to send an email, so notification. And again, this can be sent to many different people. Even different types or tones of email can be sent to different people in the same automation rule. And then I also wanted to now create a new request for me. So this is going to create that service request that we just looked at. And then it's going to also create variables utilizing smart values in looking up those objects. So it's going to create that parent ticket. And then based on what the other rules and conditions I'm telling it to do, it's going to create a new subtask that's linked to that parent ticket. And so now we have all of this, again, created automatically. No agent had to come in here to do anything at all. They can just monitor this throughout its life cycle, or they can just ignore it completely if it happens to be fully automated and only have to pay attention to it when something comes up with it. So really interesting piece when it comes to automation and asset management. Highly recommend that you take full advantage of lifecycle management with this. And we're always certainly happy to talk about different ways to make that happen. We also have a pretty impressive total care package for managed support where you could buy a certain number of hours to do one-off things like create a couple of different lifecycle rules for us, just to get an idea of how we work and to experience some of our service offerings as well. But definitely check out lifecycle management for sure. Okay, let's talk quickly about data manager. So when we're talking about data manager in general, there are quite a few different things to talk about. One second here. We'll get right into that. Oh, by the way, before we actually get into data manager, a couple of other rule examples to do would be things like auto update and asset status when it's marked as deployed. So a trigger for that could be when an asset custom field is in an issue is changed, then you can change that asset status from, let's say, in stock to deployment request. Also, you can auto create maintenance tasks for high risk assets. So when an asset's health attribute might be changed to poor or critical, then you can create a new maintenance request issue to service that particular object immediately, no manual anything. And then it gets assigned to that response group or the technician, and then they can start to deal with what the actual issue is and perform maintenance on that so that you stop getting issues coming in often. Also, you can do things like auto archiving retired hardware, and you can do things like notifying procurement of stock depletion, which we saw just now, as well as auto creating a decommission checklist. So let's say when an asset status changes to pending disposal, we can then create a subtask checklist that will do things like wiping data, removing from MDM, updating the ownership, and even confirming the destruction certificate. That can help to enforce compliance with asset disposal policy. You can also auto update linked assets on an incident closure, and then also software lifecycle automation rules, such as automatically updating license counts. That's going to be really important when you have, let's say, 1,000 licenses that are available. How do you keep track of all of that? By utilizing automation. Also, possibly a Rovo agent can help you out with that as well. Also letting you know of upcoming license renewals and auto assigning newly purchased license to users, automatically revoking access when a user offboards. These are all really common rules that we've implemented for lots of our clients so far. You can even auto link software incidents to a relevant asset. There's just, again, so many different pieces of automation you can use for lifecycle management in general. And you can track any asset. Again, if you can put it into a CSV file or ingest it from a CSV file, you can track it from hardware to software to goldfish. Anything can be tracked as an object in CMDB. And also, unlike traditional CMDBs, which can be pretty rigid or IT only, Assets is schema-less and team agnostic. So it's flexible enough for IT, HR, facilities, finance, and procurement teams. It supports dynamic object relationships, again, via these linked objects and these outbound and inbound references. And I actually really very quickly want to go back to my schemas. You're always going to want people as objects within this, always, because otherwise, how are you going to relate most of the items that affect your workforce? Certainly, you can track hardware only for things like decommissioning servers or maintenance or patching. But if you don't utilize your people as assets, you're missing out on some crucial functionality and lifecycle management in general. Okay, well, let's talk about data manager. Okay, so what is data manager? So let's start with why we need this. And we're going to go to this right now. Most organizations have asset data that's scattered across multiple systems, spreadsheets, Active Directory, CMDB, SaaS inventories, maybe even procurement databases. That kind of fragmentation can lead to things like duplication, outdated records, and poor visibility. That's going to mean slower incident resolution, inaccurate impact analysis, and audit headaches. What Assets Data Manager in JSM Cloud is for, it's solving that by connecting, cleansing, and reconciling data, providing and producing a single trusted view of assets in Jira. So what is Data Manager? It's part of both premium and enterprise plans. It is not a discovery tool. It brings data in from other systems like AD, CMDBs, or spreadsheets, cleans it up, deduplicates it, and then merges it into your asset schema. So think of it as ETL, so extract, transform, and load layer for your asset data. There are things called connectors and adapters. There are cleansing and reconciliation steps, job history, and data flows to asset schemas. There are two really main components of Data Manager, adapters and jobs. We're going to talk about the differences between the two. An adapter is a data connection layer. It defines where and how data is accessed. The purpose is to connect Data Manager to an external data source like ITAM, a SaaS app, or a database. And I want to go into adapters really quick to show what I'm talking about here. Okay, I want to see all jobs. And this is the one we're going to take a look at in just a second. So in terms of like, let's say an analogy. So for the function of the adapter itself, the function, it specifies the type of system, authentication and connection details, and data extraction configuration. So like what objects or fields to retrieve. An analogy that you could use is think of it as a connector or an integration endpoint that knows how to talk to another system. So for example, is an adapter that connects to Landsweeper and extracts hardware assets and software licenses. But it can also extract pieces from flat files as well. Depending on the client and depending on the maturity of your organization, I'm going to go ahead and assume that a lot of our clients are going to have flat files as opposed to lots of different connective sources, let's say. So to do that, let's say from a flat file perspective, you can still populate it manually and then have a scheduled job just pick up all the changes on a regular basis, however you're going to schedule that. That's what I would be doing too. If I don't have Landsweeper or even some other connective or discovery tools, then I would be using flat files because that's how I would be ingesting information just for myself in general. So let's talk about that for an adapter versus a job. So again, an adapter is something that will connect to a source and extract the data. The job itself is data processing and the scheduling layer. The job will define when and what the system does with that data. So the purpose is it'll use one or more adapters to fetch, transform, and load data into JSM datasets. So the functions, it's going to specify which adapter to use, what transformation or mappings to apply, where to load the data, how often it should run. So the analogy for the job piece is a job is a data pipeline or ETL task that uses adapters as input. Example is a job that runs nightly to pull updated asset data from, let's say, a Landsweeper adapter that will map that data to the JSM asset schema and update asset records. So again, the adapter is the data source connector, whereas the job is the data pipeline. The adapter defines where and how to access the data. The job defines when and what to import and transform. So let's take a look at this particular job that I created. This is a flat file configuration. It's going to ask me for a few things. Do I want, if the configuration is active already, bring in the name for this job? Do I want to add this as an actual data source here? It's going to ask me for my actual object class. I want it to work though. Okay. The data source type itself should be self-explanatory: Active Directory, CMDB, etc., SolarWinds, SCCM, ITAM, etc. And this is just what's available now. More types are definitely coming. Again, this is still very brand new to us too. It's only been released in general for general audience for a couple of months, I believe. We put in our file path that we're going to want to use the adapter to pick up. And then we can also use things like a file wildcard if we need to. We can do things like skipping lines if there happens to be a row there with your headers in there, checking your delimiters, your qualifiers, and then you can also do things like end with delimiter. And then you just put in your column mappings here. And once you add those mappings, then you can also delete all those mappings if you want to. Then you just go ahead and save. And now you're going to have this particular job ready to run once you have your adapters and your clients input. So when it comes to the clients, something to note is you do have to go to the Atlassian marketplace and download clients for the different machines that your flat files will be sitting, or the different sources of data that you're going to be bringing in to the particular data manager itself. Once you do that, then you can see things like recent jobs. You can also set up rules for these different jobs as well. You can view the imported raw data that it brought in. And then you can also do things like view the transform data. So if I click on view transform data, it's going to tell me how many records were found and then some of the actions that it took for this data. So I'm going to get out of this, show you the raw data first. And we can see all of that there. And then depending on the rules that I put in place for it or the transformation piece, it might look very different depending on what I'm doing to the data that I'm ingesting. This will also give you a complete list of all of your jobs. You can also do a transformation request here. So you can run a current set of that data in that job on your raw data. So you can use it if you want to modify that data without having to run the job again from the Adapters client tool. And this is part of the Adapters client that you'll have to download for the different machines you're getting data from. And then also the import analysis piece here. So you're going to connect your data sources with your data manager. And then once you start ingesting that data, then you'll be filtering out unwanted records. Deduplication is going to be a pretty hot topic and something you'll probably use for most of your data sets. You create your data manager objects. This will show you how to reconcile that data here. It's going to give you some more information too. It's really going to give you all these really nice steps to set this up. Although I do recommend talking to us before you start poking around in here, because once you put your data in, your data then goes into the CMDB once you click on it and say, yes, I approve this. Very hard to get it out once you get it in. So please definitely keep that in mind. Then you can also view and use your data manager objects here as well. In our next webinar, I'm going to try my best to do a live data import utilizing a client, and we'll see how that works together on our next ITSM webinar, I believe next month or January. Okay, so a little bit more about connecting data sources. You can always create adapters for CSV files, databases, APIs, or even external CMDBs like SolarWinds. Each adapter is going to define where your data is coming from and how often it syncs. Once they are configured, you can run jobs automatically, either daily, weekly, etc., to keep those assets up to date. After ingestion, Data Manager moves into cleansing and reconciliation. This is where that real value happens, because you can now normalize inconsistent formats like manufacturer names like Hewlett-Packard or HP, and transform serial number formats as well. Data Manager will also automatically detect potential duplicates across systems, so you don't have to tell it to do that. It's just one of the things that it's going to do anyway. And then you can define a reconciliation rule set as well. That's going to help you decide which source wins when a conflict occurs. So if you have two different sources, one of them, and they're not saying the same thing, then you can set up that rule set to say, I'm going to trust Landsweeper over XYZ, or Flexera for that matter. That all of those features can and will ensure that your data is complete, current, and correct. Okay. A couple other pieces about Data Manager before we move on to incident management is once your data is in assets, it certainly can power all of your ITSM processes. For incidents, agents can see instantly the affected asset, its owner, dependencies, and change history. You can also utilize customer information for the customer service management piece too, if you're ingesting people as assets. You can put those people or your customers as people in a completely different object schema, and then have all of that information at the ready when you're looking at a customer experience piece. In fact, I want to go back really quickly and show the context that I was talking about. Let's go into this really quickly. That. Okay, let's go into back to where we were. Let's take a look at our request really quick. So if I go into this previous request that was put in, we can see customer details here. This is going to be really important when responding, and it's front and center. It's right at the very top, so your agents can see it when they might be on the phone with this particular person, or if they're responding. You can add even more customer details here too, including entitlements, addresses, phone numbers, etc. Lots and lots of customer information that's going to be available. But you definitely want to have these things in your asset piece as well, so that you can get all that information ingested into these different customer service and ITSM requests in general. Okay. One thing to note also about Data Manager is governance is really going to be key here. So we recommend defining an asset data owner per source system. And one thing also to note, let's say you're like, hey, I've got assets, but where is Data Manager at? You can probably see both of these, or maybe neither of these, but you can't actually get to it. So to get to it, you're going to click on the little wheel cog here and click on general settings. This took me a hot minute to find myself. You're going to go into general settings, and then you're going to see these tabs up here. You're going to click on data manager, and now you can turn it on or off. So if you've been looking for this, I apologize, but this is where it's currently sitting. You do use that wheel cog, get to your general settings, and now you can turn this on and off. One thing to note also, you will have to give, even if you're a site admin or an org admin or whoever, you're going to have to give data manager permissions for all of these different roles here. So a data manager admin, an adapters admin, a dashboards viewer, and a dashboards editor. You can also create additional roles as well. But in this case, we're starting with these main 4 roles here. So make sure that even if you turn it on, you still have to put all of your admins or project staff into one or all of these roles. Otherwise, they can't view or see anything at all. And then something's not going to work very well. Also, tokens are going to be for your adapters clients and for the cleanse and import clients. So I'm just going to click on adapters here just to show you where it's going to take us. It's going to take us to our support information here. And then if I want to click on the actual marketplace, I'm just going to click that link. And this is going to say, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to click on get it now, and I'm going to download it. There's just a couple of different instructions to run through to utilize that, but it's pretty easy to do. Once you download your data manager clients, then you can start to actually run those scheduled jobs. Without this, your jobs will be going absolutely nowhere because there will be no actual adapter that will work because there's no client there to hook into. Okay. Let's move on now from asset management and the data manager to incident management. And we've got about 23 minutes left. So I'm going to talk fast. So we talked about customer service management. We talked about AI. We talked about asset management in general. And now we're really going to end with incident. We're only going to cover this for a couple of minutes because I just wanted to make it clear. If you're not using operations, you're really missing out on some powerful incident management. So incidents work just like any other ITSM category, like service requests, like problems, like changes. Most of the tickets are going to look similar to themselves. You're going to have your navigational panel on the left and all of your context in the middle here. Although this is a change, so I want to go into my instance directly. Okay, right now I just have the one that's open. So I'm going to open this one up. Within your different incidents, you are going to have your assets. Everything really kind of comes back down to teams and assets when you're talking about JSM. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a service just so we can see what we're looking at here. And I always pick on billing. If you're not utilizing asset management, you're missing out on powerful incident management. If you're not utilizing operations management, you're missing out on really a full arm, a full limb, if not a couple of limbs in the matrix of providing effective incident management. But it really harks back to the team perspective when it comes to Atlassian. You set up your teams. Your teams are responsible for certain services or objects or items that you sell or lease. Anything that you're providing to your internal or external customer groups are going to be part of this. Teams are set up. Now you set up your operations. You set up your alerting ingestion. You set up your heartbeats and your syncs and your maintenance periods. Once all of that is created, once an alert is truly an incident, then all of that information and that context can then inform that incident. So let's start at the beginning when it comes to operations, and we'll go from there. When it comes to operations, you can find the operations area in every space that you have or project or workspace, or you can find operations at the very bottom down here. So in this case, we can see a couple of things: a change calendar. We can see a list of services for this particular operations project or space. And then we can also see our alerts. Alerts should be the first line of defense for anything that comes in that's amiss. What we do with alerts is we set up an integration with an alerting service, either the service that you sell or other services that go through a different alerting software like Dynatrace or Datadog or anything else. Once you set those alerts up, then you can start setting up automation rules to create incidents automatically and have those things assigned automatically as well. So let's look at teams. To find the teams piece, you're going to go all the way down and click on teams. This will bring up this new piece here. And you're going to end up at the For You page, and then you're going to find your team. So I'm going to click on Front End Wizards. This is going to give you information about all the linked projects that your team might be working on in Spaces, all the members in that team, any Rovo agents that work specifically with this team or with the service that works with that team, all the team activity that's related back to these folks that work for you, and then also operations. So there's two operations area here. I'm actually going to go to this one because this is also something that might be hard to find if you're not doing this on a daily basis. If you want to find automation, for the longest time, I'm like, how do I create an incident via an alert? So an alert would come in. Let's say it's a true alert. This is actually going to be an incident or something more than we can fix in just a couple of minutes. It is something that's real. So we need to hop on this right away. I'm going to click on automation right here. And then I'm going to click on create automation. Once I click on create automation, remember this is automation that's only available for front end wizards. I'm actually going to return to my rules and take a look at my templates. And here it is. It's the first one. When an alert is created, you're going to create an incident. The only place to find this rule in this template is right here. So you want to make sure that you are creating these particular rules per team. And if I click on this, it's going to start me off and it's going to give me my alert created. And then it's going to check on certain criteria. So now I can go ahead and make changes and do updates to all of these pieces to make sure that it fits what I want it to fit. And then it will create my incident automatically. I can also have additional components in here, like assign it to front end wizards or anything that you like. I can have additional and branched out components and conditions saying, if it's a P1 or P2 service, then do XYZ. If it's a P3 or 4, do ABC. All of that can be done instantly and automatically, as opposed to having an agent previously have to look at the alert, triage that alert, every part of it, manually create an incident, and then manually assign it, and then manually create subtasks. And also, at the back end of that, let's say we now have a true incident, but now we need a bug ticket in JSM. That same automation rule can also automatically create that bug ticket in that Jira software project. So your devs can now immediately start working on that bug with all of the context that was given to you in the initial alert and incident. None of that information gets lost. So it's no more like a game of telephone. You can certainly still automatically spin up different spaces and channels to triage and isolate causes, do root cause analysis, and really swarm the problem. If you're not doing that, you're again missing out on that piece. But this seamless connection between the service collection and Jira software is really impressive with just one automation rule. So much manual work gets removed with this, leaving your agents to focus on the other pieces that really can't be completely automated, but still needs their brain and their mind to work. Automation will never replace people 100%, nor should it, but it can certainly help them, make them more productive, give them more time to learn more about what they're working with, the services that they respond to, the professional development that often these days kind of gets pushed to the side because we have this big thing that we have to fix. So do right by your agents and use as much automation as possible by hooking into operations, hooking into teams that then go ahead and hook into those specific incidents. And just very quickly, I want to show how easy it is to configure alerts. So again, I'm going to click on my operations. I'm going to click on configuration. One thing to note about the different pieces of this is you can have specific operations roles and assignments. If you wanted to separate in terms of, let's say, data manager pieces, asset pieces, and operations pieces, you might have one person that works on all three. You might have just 3 different people or 3 roles working on that, depending on the kind of workspaces that you have currently set up for IT ops, IT support, HR, etc. So you can get really granular with who needs to be responsible and available for what. You can create all of your on-call schedules from here. Again, no code, really easy to turn these on and off. Escalation policies, even incoming call routing, you can configure with this particular tool. Each of your teams are going to have their own operations section here. But one thing that my favorite piece of operations are the heartbeats. Heartbeats is the proactive piece of operations. So a heartbeat is something that you set up for a service that you know you're going to get a notification for. And you're going to want to ping saying everything is fine. Let's say you set this up for every 5 minutes. You continue to get your every 5 minute ping, everything is fine. No alerts are coming in for this. No incidents are being reported. It gives you some peace of mind. And when you stop receiving those heartbeats for some reason, let's say you stop receiving 2 in a row and now it's 3 in a row, instead of waiting for an alert just to come in, you can immediately say, you know what, I'm going to create an alert for this, or I can even create a task just in JSM, immediately assign it to the team that's responsible for the service that is tracked to that heartbeat, and then they can start to swarm that, possibly averting disaster before it even happens. So especially for critical systems, global systems, billing, maintenance, web, whatever services are the most important to you and your customer base, whether it's external or internal, set up these heartbeats as much as you can so that you can be as proactive as possible to possibly avoid disaster before it strikes. Let's talk about very quickly integration. I'm going to add an integration here just to show the very long list of things that we can connect to, including Amazon Web Services, Azure, Azure OMS, Touchpoint, Checkmark, Datadog, etc. So many different things, including Dynatrace and Dynatrace webhooks. You can also use webhooks to ingest information into this as well. But I'm going to click on, let's click on Dynatrace. I'll just get a name, just say new. Assign a team to it. You don't have to, but it's definitely recommended that you do. Okay, and then it's going to give you a complete list of steps to set this up. This is not rocket science. Use integrations, use alerting, use operations. This will give you so much more information into your incident management practice as a whole, because alerts are not created by customers. Alerts are created by these integrations. Incidents are created by customers, whether they're external or internal. We want to avoid that as much as possible. So alerting can be utilized to help stave off or completely deflect an incident from ever needing to be created, but only if you use the tools that are available to you. There's no extra charge for any of these operations pieces as well. It's just part of the tool. I cannot recommend more that you utilize the team aspect and the concepts as well as operations tied in with your incident management. You're just using incident management. You're not working with the full tool set that you're already paying for. Okay, and it looks like we are almost at time here. I'm going to give some folks some opportunity for some questions. And I'm going to check on the Q&A right now. Okay, Chrisat, Aloko, thank you for your question. Will you have to create these fields if they don't exist? Yes, so if those fields don't exist, I'm assuming you're talking about the CSM piece. Yes, you will still have to create those fields and have them mapped for that particular experience. Turn that back on. Okay. And oh, tree. Okay, so I'm going to answer. I've already answered that live. Okay, and the next one down. So let's see. My colleagues and I frequently discuss what the differences are between an inbound and an outbound reference. Is there any hard, fast rule for determining if a reference is inbound or outbound? I'm sure that there is. It's not coming to mind immediately, but I'm going to get your contact information, and I'll put the answer in a comment when this is published on our YouTube chat. But for example, an outbound reference is, I believe, going to be the model, and then the out. Actually, I take that back. Let's say you have a laptop and a laptop model. The laptop itself is going to have an inbound reference to that model, so that higher level, whereas the model itself is going to have an outbound reference to that particular laptop. I believe that is exactly how that works, but I'm going to check into it just to make sure that, oh, yes, the above pertains to assets, just to make sure that I'm fully answering the question. I think the answer is it some occasionally depends, but I think you start at the higher piece and work your way out, if that makes sense. But let me get you more information on that when this is published later. And let's see here. Is it considered a good practice to use a single token for all data sources in Data Manager, or should we maintain separate tokens for each data source instead? That's a question that I don't have a complete answer for. I believe you're going to use multiple tokens. I don't think you actually have a choice. I think you have to use multiple tokens for multiple data sources, but let me check and I'll make sure to get the answer again in a comment on the YouTube link when it is published. And let's see, there were 4 that was already answered. So just go ahead and answer that live. And I think that's it. So that is all the questions that have been asked as of now. Thank you so much for your participation. I'm going to go ahead and send it back to Brianna.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for the last 2 hours and going through all this information. I know it was a lot of information, but it was awesome. And like Rachel said, this is going to be posted on YouTube. So if you want to rewatch, pause, take notes, reach back out to us with any questions, we are more than happy to answer those and continue that conversation. I dropped a couple of links in the chat throughout today's session, but I did want to call out just 3 of them one more time. If you're interested in any training like today, where we can dive deeper into JSM, Jira, we've got Forge Bootcamp, anything like that, feel free to check out our training website and we've got those listed there. We do offer private training as well in case you are looking for something that we don't have public. You want to get your whole team in there. Our training team is fantastic and they'd be more than happy to work with you on getting something scheduled there. And then we do have our free events and webinars like this. I did post Rachel's next JSM for ITSM webinar. That is in March, actually. But that link is in there in case you wanted to register and hang out with her some more. And then, of course, our YouTube channel, if you wanted to check out when this video is posted. We've got all of Rachel's previous recordings of JSM for ITSM on there, as well as lots of other videos and tools that you can use to help. I also had included that service collection link earlier at the beginning with all of the information on the new collection, that Rovo training that we did in May. That was to have a Guinness World Record. So that was a great training. Feel free to check that out. And as Rachel said, it is very technical. It is a great training, nothing salesy in there. It is really just for you to learn as much as you can about Rovo. And then one other link I did want to post is that we do have, like I said, Jira Service Management Bootcamp. Our next one is going to be in January. So I did post that in there in case anyone is interested in getting very hands-on experience in JSM. All of our trainings are you're in the tool, your boots on the ground. There's no slides in there. So if you're interested in something more hands-on, feel free to take a look at that. And that next session is in January. So other than that, like we've said, if you have any other questions, feel free to email us. I'm going to put our emails in the chat one more time.
And definitely play around with the CSM piece in JSM. It is going to be a game changer and hopefully a money and time saver for a lot of our clients who have lots of other external products for external service management. You really don't need them anymore.
Perfect. Well, other than that, feel free to reach out, connect with us in email, LinkedIn, whatever you'd like. But we appreciate you sticking around for these last couple of hours and we hope to see you guys again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Brianna.